is Penn's unique form of student government. We are the bridge between Penn administration and the Penn student body. We focus on serving Penn student body as best as we can. Today, I present to you 3 exemplary students, some of the best at the school. Please welcome Rebecca Ramirez, David Garassi, and Maureen Butch.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Rebecca Ramirez, and I'm a sophomore serving my first year on Kingsman Court. This year, Kingsman Court and the greater student body have embraced the theme of building bright futures. Like any great construction project, it's taken teamwork, careful planning, and a shared vision to make progress. The opportunities and outlets of creativity at Penn have sparked a greater feeling of student culture, geared towards creating a more welcoming environment for everyone. This theme has allowed every student to focus on how they can make a difference in our community and aspire to leave a positive impact. Penn's motto of take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of this place continues to shine through in our theme this year. It serves as the blueprint for everything we do as students to dream for brighter futures. But just like in construction, it's not about the individual bricks, but it's how we bring them together, and each member of our community helps realize this bright future. While this first semester has been a success, the future we're building is even brighter. We hope to continue building bright futures into the second semester and beyond. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, members of the board. Thank you so much for having me. My name is David Garassi. I am a senior, and this is my 3rd year on Kingsman Court. So this fall, Penn students enjoyed another super successful homecoming. We had a neon and construction theme, which went perfectly with our Building Bright Futures theme for the school year. Preceding the actual football game, we held a Spirit Week where we engaged not only the high school, but several middle and elementary schools within PHM. The Neon Spirit Day on Friday led straight into our homecoming parade, which was also a massive success. Many of Penn's clubs and organizations participated in the parade, and many of them put in time and effort to create some really awesome floats. It seems like more and more members of our community each year are coming to the parade, and we're really wanting to keep that up, so thank you guys. The homecoming dance that followed the next day was also a big hit. Students could either break it down on the dance floor, play some yard games on the football field, or grab a bite to eat at the food truck station. So overall, this year's homecoming was a huge success. We hope to keep building on that in the future. Thank you, guys.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Mahreen Butch, and I'm a junior here at Penn, and this is my first year on Kingsman Court. The homecoming pep rally was October 4th and a big success. We crowned the homecoming court with princes and princesses from freshmen to juniors and the senior court. There was the classic t-shirt cannon, cheerleaders, and music, and we had added some new games for the relays like bear crawling and cup stacking, with each grade having 4 representatives. Teachers and staff were also included in the game, such as balloon pop, and played against football players. We implemented our theme, Building Bright Futures, by 1 student per team being dressed in construction clothes, hard hat, gloves, utility belt, and the student feedback reflected the success of the event as everyone enjoyed the music, games, and prizes. We hope with continuous planning and feedback, future pep rallies are as successful. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great introduction from our students. Welcome to the Penn construction site. As you can see around you, we're right in the middle of heavy construction with all the equipment and safety gear. So again, we've really focused on the spotlight of building bright futures this year. It's been a wonderful year as the students just highlighted some of the amazing things we've been able to do with that theme. And I'm going to introduce our spotlight. We have 2 groups spotlighting us tonight. Our Penn Building Trades students are here. A few of them are here just to provide some support. We'll have a couple come up and share what they're doing at the house right now, what it means to them, what they're doing, maybe future plans. And then we have a student who has been building an engineering design project. He's going to describe that to you a little bit, and part of our robotics team as part of our Penn High School Spotlight. So we'll start with Mr. Les Crooks.
Thank you, board of directors. I have some trivia. Does anybody know, I bet you there's one, what year Building Trades collaborated with PHM to start this whole Building Trades cooperation? Anybody? Mr. Beeler, do you remember? Was it really? 1968. So Penn Building Trades Corporation and PHM work together, and we collaborate with the students, and they build a house. And this is house number 58, year number 56. Now, those numbers don't add up because we started a couple years ago with so many students. We said we need to have 2 houses at once. And so we did 2 houses. And this year we did 2 houses again. Now, this year we started the second house the 1st of November. And if you're in construction, when November hits, that's not the time you want to start building, for sure. The weather goes bad quickly. But these students have done a great job. And so I'm going to have Nolan and Landon come on down. They're going to say a couple words about the class, what they've learned and what they like about the class. And the rest of the students, if you'd raise your hand, I won't embarrass you by who you are. That's just a small representation of the 46 students that take this class morning and afternoon. So, guys.
Hello, my name is Nolan Jason, and I am a current senior, and this is my first year of building trades. This is one of my favorite classes. I have learned so much. Currently in our house right now, we are currently in the flooring stage. And so for what I want to do after high school, I hope to become a manager for a construction company. Doesn't really matter. So that's my outline.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Landon Allen. I'm a senior and I'm a second year. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today about my experience with an amazing program. It had a huge impact on my life, and it definitely boosted my career. I want to go into the trades business and go to college for construction management and business, so it gives me a big boost for that. Yeah, he said we're in the flooring stage, big stage, and everything is being seen after building the walls and everything from ground, start to finish, I should say. Sorry, I apologize. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Joel Benavides, and I'm a senior at the high school this year. I'm here to talk to you about a couple of things. The first is Penn's robotics program. Every year, Penn robotics students are tasked with completing a competition robot to compete against other robotics teams across the region, state, and world. Through this program, students are taught engineering skills such as CAD and manufacturing, and soft skills such as communication and collaboration. On the screen, you can see a picture of the chassis of the robot that I took a couple of weeks ago. But since then, we've built up 120-pound robot to compete in this year's competition. We're excited to compete here in a couple weeks. At the end of the month, we'll be competing at Penn at our district event. The other program I'm here to talk to you about is the capstone engineering class here at Penn, which is the Engineering Design and Development class, or EDD. It is the only class at Penn that is offered as dual credit with Purdue, and it is graded by a Purdue professor. It's split up into 3 major projects. The first 2 are geared toward building the skills needed to complete the third. Through these projects, students are taught engineering design skills such as prototyping, ideation, how to conduct professional literature reviews, and interviews. The third project wraps the skills gained in the first 2 together with the goal of creating a fully functional prototype project to be presented before a board of Purdue staff. My group built a prototype knee brace and was chosen to go to Purdue to present at the final product competition against Purdue engineers. Despite the hard competition, our group was able to come out on top and win the first place prize and a $5,000 scholarship for us who go to Purdue. So,
very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joel. Are you going to Purdue? All right. You'll be able to take advantage of that scholarship. So let's give all of our students, as part of our spotlight, a round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight. So obviously we wanted to choose something connected to our theme. When you think about engineering and construction, our students are making a difference in the world, and they were told they could leave, so they're heading out. They're going to rest up so they can.
Before they leave, can I just say a
Sure.
story quickly? I don't know if this is on. So all of the building trades houses are built in my neighborhood. We've been there for 5 years, and I just wanted to say thank you because 3 years ago, there was a snake in my yard when I was working in the yard, and I freaked out and ran over there, and the boys all helped me. So thank you.
All
And
right.
it's really cool to see it be built from the bottom.
Well, they're definitely a talented group, and it's always a joy to see them finish the project at the end of the year. So as we continue with our presentation tonight, we're going to get into the achievement results as we think about the first semester at Penn High School. So I want to remind the board, and for those new board members, some of the things that we talk about when we do this achievement report. So when we look at our goals, we have big goals. We want to maintain a 97% graduation rate, improve SAT success, implement high quality, relevant professional development, help more kids be at school and be persistent attendees, and then strengthen our school community. Listening to the students, our student council representatives at the beginning of our meeting tonight is one way that we focus on building school community. However, as we think about the graduates prepared to succeed dashboard that I mentioned last year, there are 4 major components that the state is measuring, and we chose to kind of alter our achievement report to mimic what those metrics are. So we're going to talk about graduation pathway completion, college and career coursework, SAT performance, and attendance. And then, of course, we're going to share a few other recognitions at the end of our time tonight. So we want kids to cross the finish line. As you can see with our graduation rate in 2024, we did finish with a 98% graduation rate, which has been the highest we have had in Penn-Harris-Madison's career. We were at actually 98.59% last year, which was fantastic. And so we expect to be right around 98% again this year, and our students are making progress so far. When we think about students starting Penn High School, this next data point is super important that, when we think about students' success, they have to start well at Penn. And as you look at this data, this is our ninth grade on track data. It speaks to our students' first semester, their success in terms of passing classes, obviously building up towards their total credits that they need. But this year, we're at 98.3% at the end of our freshmen that are on track. So that means they've earned at least 5 credits to start the school year, because that'll get them to the 40 that they need by the end of the senior year. So as you can see, that's the highest percentage we've had since we started tracking data. I think the major reason for this is a celebration of our RTI efforts and the collaboration that our freshman academy teachers and counselors do weekly, in addition to improved attendance metrics that I'll share later in the presentation. So that's a big deal. If you get high numbers of students on track at the end of the freshman year, that will typically lead to high graduation rates. So we expect it to be higher than that by the time they graduate. In addition, this metric will probably be part of the high school new accountability model that is still in the works. By the end of this calendar year, we expect a new accountability framework for schools throughout the state. But at the high school level, it looks like on-track data will be part of that accountability metric. So we also keep measurements on our sophomore, junior, and senior cohorts as well. So this data will tell you what our on-track behavior or on-track data will tell us for each cohort. So we're a little lower than the 98% for each of the cohorts, but still, if you're above 90%, you're in a good place. And we'll obviously be working with those students to make sure that they continue to make progress towards graduation by their senior year. And you'll see at the bottom there, the numbers we use for on track are 15 plus credits for sophomores by this time, 25 credits for juniors, and 35 credits for seniors. And of course, we want our students to be successful in many different arenas, but specifically tracking honors diploma graduates. And so we've been tracking this data for quite a while. You can see the data is still hovering a little over 50% for the number of students who are going to earn an honors diploma. So we're predicted to be close to 53% for the 2025 cohort, which is an amazing task. Dr. Thacker mentions this often. I think we were in the low 30s or even maybe lower than that, several years ago. So that's a number that we're very proud of. Okay, so this is, I think, the third year that we're going to share this piece of information because we have a couple new board members. I want to make sure that they are aware of our accreditation status and the work that we've been doing for a couple years as we think about school improvement. So Cognia, if you remember last year at this time, we did share information that we were recognized as one of 33 schools in the world to be celebrated as a school of distinction. So we had a celebration here at the board meeting, and that represents the accomplishments of our students and staff. However, anytime you do accreditation, we look at ways to improve, and that's part of our continuous improvement process. And so I want to just share, these were the noteworthy practices at the time, and I believe they are still noteworthy practices, that we continue to be united in our focus for continuous improvement, looking at all the different stakeholder groups that we communicate with, and then demonstrating mastery and distributed leadership. So making sure that we have a model at Penn High School where we can get the work done and make sure it's at a high level. So those were the noteworthy practices that they put in the report. A couple insights that are important to be reminded of is we picked out 4. There were several, but we thought these were the most meaningful. The PHS climate and culture are clearly among its greatest assets, which is amazing. Students commented positively about how their teachers help them. The students feel they are safe and cared for while they are at school. You'll see this data also reflected in this student stakeholder data that we collected in the fall. So that data point continues to be true. Relationships are valued and students acknowledge this is a critical strength of the school. And the layers of talent and the cultivation of leadership skills systematically are an area of excellence for the school. So these were some of the insights. And then they left us with a few areas of growth, which are important to consider. And as you think about these 3, the first one is they wanted to make sure that we continue to collect feedback from parents, students on the climate and culture, and we've started to do that. Number 2 talks to, how are we going to think about levels of student engagement? Last year at this time, we talked about how we're going to put together a professional improvement development plan specifically related to active learning, and we're going to speak to that here in a minute. And then number 3 is, how can we develop and implement formal processes to advance consistent expectations for staff and students, which will also be, we're going to share the progress we've made on that metric as well. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Jeannie Mitchell, who's going to talk a little bit about our progress in professional development.
Good evening. I'm happy to talk with you. I'm not as tall as Sean, sorry. With a continued focus on active learning, taking from our accreditation and the goals we set, we're proud to offer in-house PD for our staff, from our teachers and our instructional leaders. So our goal is that every month we offer at least a 30-minute session that everybody can attend. This year has been a little different because we offered specific training with Kagan collaborative learning and cooperative learning structures, as all of our staff have now attended day 1. We offered some other in-house PD to support that, talking about active learning. Along with our accreditation, we conduct instructional snapshots where we revisit those tenets of Cognia and what they pointed out in active learning, what we want to focus on. And then we meet as a staff, we analyze that data, talk about what we expected to see, what we hope to change to improve upon that. In March, all staff will undergo day 2 of Kagan training, which takes takes it a little further in terms of the day-to-day planning and cooperative learning. And then finally, for the rest of the year, I just wanted to share our focuses. While Kagan has helped us look at the physical structures for cooperation and collaboration with students, now we want to look to curriculum. So we're going to look at those essential standards and PLC work to align the work we're doing with that Kagan training. In addition to that, we always support our new teachers with orientation at the beginning of the year. We have such a great strength of leaders and mentors in our building who are helping these new to Penn teachers. And we have this great instructional coaching cycle where they're getting in classrooms, modeling best practices, and then giving support as the year goes on. Speaking specifically to a couple of those days I mentioned, so this time last year, you may remember I was here talking to you about a proposal for us to use some of the grant money that we had earned from the IGOE. We had received recognition for our college and career readiness and chose to put a lot of that into professional learning for our staff. So as I said, we had 155 staff members who attended day one of Kagan. We have day two scheduled for the week in March. And then we also will have some instructional coaching to help sustain the learning that all of our staff have undergone with Kagan. We were also able to offer 2 days of universal design for learning training with Penn grad Kasia Drabashevska. And that was more voluntary, but we had a cohort of about 40 staff members. And again, we'll be able to support them through some instructional coaching with Kasia. And once again, this all comes from this grant that we earned, and we sought approval from all of you last year. I wanted to take a moment to share some of the feedback from staff because, I went the wrong way. We're really happy to share that it's been very positive. And we talked about this at our most recent staff meeting. If you walk through the building, there are so many pods in classrooms where collaboration has increased dramatically. 2 quotes here. A first-year Penn teacher said about Kagan, this was very helpful as I start my first year of teaching. I feel more prepared to integrate different practices in my classroom. And then a teacher who's been there for more than 10 years said, this PD was very helpful. I struggle with implementing group work, and I realize today it's because I haven't had structure in the student interactions. And our speaker, who's going to be again with us on day 2, said that with a secondary crowd, 4.5 out of 5 stars is really positive, and she just had pages of positive reviews from our teachers. And then UDL, I thought this was a great quote from one of our teachers who said, this is by far the most theoretically sound and pedagogically strong professional learning I've ever attended. I have too many adjustments and ideas to possibly write down. This will be a huge shift in my teaching. And again, all of this is a focus on active learning and getting our students to really engage in what we're teaching. Another point that Dr. Gallagher spoke to tonight is conducting stakeholder feedback data. And I know that we did present this for our elementary and middle schools earlier in the first semester. So we conducted the same in part of our accreditation review. And I wanted to highlight these 3 statements where we asked parents, well, these are students first, sorry, on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how they felt about these 3 statements. And I wanted to point out specifically, we've asked these same statements for 3 years, and we had a big increase from last year to this year. Particularly if you notice that last one, my school prioritizes safety. Students who said a 5 out of 5 is a 9% increase, but I want to point out at least 93% chose a 3 or higher. And that just speaks to our great safety team in the district and Sarah and student services and everything we do in our school to help students feel safe. As we look to the parent stakeholder data, again, this is 3 years now. We've collected over the same statements, and note the, again, increases, really positive increases overall. When we look to the last one, I feel there is strong communication from the school. We had an increase in 5 out of 5. And again, I think that's a huge testament to Parent Square and the consolidated communication that we have. So thanks to Lucha and Matt Hapke and the team for helping arrange a lot of that. But we're really happy with this. We always review this data to see how we can improve, both as an admin team and with our staff and our staff meetings, but we're always looking to collect data from our stakeholders. So now, as I pass it off to Mr. Parker, he's going to highlight some of the work we've done preparing students for life after high school.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. So one of the other areas that we look at for our through the state is our college and career coursework. And the two things that they look at for this is the whether students earn a dual credit while they're in high school at some point, and the number of students who earn a 3 or higher on an AP test. And those are kind of the two metrics that the state uses to give us the score of college and career readiness. So on the AP side, you can see in this graph that the number of students who are taking AP is increasing, and we're at the most we've ever had at Penn High School. More students are attempting an AP course or taking an AP course than we ever have. And some of that has to do with some very specific things we've tried to encourage students to take it, let them know that you do have the skills that you need to do well and take an AP course, and you can see the numbers have increased from there, or because of that. Because we have more students taking the test, we also have more students who are earning a qualifying score. So that qualifying score is a 3 or higher on the AP test. So you can see on the first graph on the far left, we have over 1,600 students last year who earned a qualifying score out of all students who took an AP test. Again, the most that we've ever had at Penn High School. The graph in the middle, not only do we have more students taking courses, more students getting a qualifying score on their AP exam, but actually a higher percentage of our students who are taking that class are earning a qualifying score. So we had almost 71% of our students who took an AP exam last year earned a 3 or higher on at least one of their exams. So again, higher percentage. So our students are doing great things in the classroom to make our students successful on that AP course and the exam. And the last graph on the right shows the number of students in each class or each cohort who have taken and earned a 3 or higher on at least one AP exam. So it could have been any time during their high school career. It could have been as a sophomore, junior, or senior. So you see that our numbers are kind of gradually going up. The 2021 was a little higher. Those students were juniors during COVID and seniors that year after COVID. So AP testing was a little bit different during that time period. But you can see that general move up as our students are, again, doing better in those AP classes and exams. On the college side, we are really starting to focus on apprenticeships. Yeah.
Are there freshmen that take AP classes now? Is that right? Like, is that AP class being offered, and that's new, right?
Yes.
Is that helping these numbers, or freshmen?
Yes. Yep. That is one reason. Another reason why they're getting those numbers are higher. Thank you. On the career side, apprenticeships is kind of where the focus has been, not just for us, kind of at Penn High School, but even the state of Indiana. So right now we are working on a partnership with Corehorn Financial and the Crossing to create a financial apprenticeship program. So we're hoping to get a handful of students in this next year where they'll take some of their business courses here at Penn High School, but they will also earn specific course credits while they're at Corehorn doing work-based learning. And that's kind of the difference between what we generally call work-based learning and an apprenticeship program is they're actually earning credits for a specific course. So like a banking course or a financial course as opposed to just a work experience course. So a little bit different, a few more things to work out in between. You have to make sure you have a qualifying person giving that teaching the students, I suppose. We have to make sure we're hitting certain standards the kids can earn those credits. We have one student we're just waiting for AM General to finish the last piece that they need so we can place him at AM General to start working an apprenticeship program there. And he is kind of going to help us build this program, the student will, with AM General. And we're going to try some things out and see what works and hopefully ramp that up so we can get a few more students that can go over there. It's right across the street. So it'd be a great location. And then the big one kind of from the state level, the state partnered with the Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation, who partnered with Switzerland to learn about the Swiss apprenticeship model and bring that model to Indiana and start to implement that into our existing structures. So we identified 3 areas that they kind of started with a few years ago. It was a very slow start. They're starting to ramp that up. We just identified 5 more areas, sectors that we're going to kind of go study in Switzerland, see how they do it, and figure how that can fit into Indiana. So the one I'm a little more connected with right now is the construction apprenticeship program. Fits right in with our Building Brighter Futures. So we're kind of working on how to make that work. So some of you actually might have gotten an email from me just today about apprenticeship programs and looking for partners to help us build that to see what it can look like, what courses kids can take, and different credentials they can earn as they're getting ready for their future. Couple of reminders as part of college or career. Our job fair is on March 6th. It's a Thursday. So if you'd like to show up, if you want to bring a company, let us know. PHMEF helps us kind of gather the companies together. All 1,600 or plus minus of our juniors and seniors will attend the job fair. There is a speaker that they'll listen to for part of that period that they're in there, and then they'll walk around the booths of the job fair. We have anywhere from 70 to 100 booths every year, anywhere from part-time jobs at like a Culver's or a fast food restaurant to full-time career jobs that students can have right after they graduate high school, internships while they're in high school or in the college. We kind of invite anybody and everybody who has opportunities for our students to come and hopefully make some connections that's better for our kids and also for our community. And our robotics competition is coming up on March 1st and 2nd. Joel kind of alluded to this earlier. On Saturday, March 1st, we have our Next Gen Day and Books and Bots, where students can come and learn about some literacy as well as robotics, engineering, and STEM-related fields. So if anyone would like to come, it's an amazing day to come out, Saturday or Sunday. If you want to spend 2 full days with some of the most intelligent high school students in the state of Indiana, let me know. I need some more judges. Thank you. Rachel Fry is going to talk to you about college and career credentials next.
Good evening. Another data point that you'll see on the IDOE GPS dashboard is students earning college credentials. So I want to take this minute to give a quick early college update without giving too many spoilers for when we share an early college spotlight in a few months. So just a few weeks back, we had a biennial re-endorsement meeting with CEL, the Center for Excellence in Leadership of Learning out of the University of Indianapolis, which is our endorsing body. They went through the report that we had submitted, reviewed a number of data regarding our students in the program, adjustments we've made to the program based on need and continued growth. And I just want to share a few. I know I do have one quote up here that our program exemplifies dedication to academic excellence, innovation, and community engagement. They have confidence in us that we will continue to empower students and enrich the community. There's a couple others, if you don't mind, that I would like to share with you, just because I am proud of the work of our students and our teachers in the Early College Academy. So the program's dedication to refining student support systems, such as academic probation initiatives and mentorship programs, illustrates its commitment to building bridges rather than barriers for students seeking rigorous academic experience. And one more, a key strength of the Early College Academy at Penn High School is the leadership and collaboration within our school leadership team. The dedication of administration and educators has resulted in a strong support network that ensures students receive the academic and personal guidance they need to thrive. The program's strategic efforts to balance counselor workloads and involve additional faculty members demonstrates a proactive approach to sustainable leadership and student success. Truthfully, I think this has been a great program since its onset. We continue to adjust and grow. I did leave the UCAN image up there. So we just completed a 2.5-year program where we served as a mentor school for 4 other schools implementing early college programs of their own in a formal capacity. A number of schools reach out to us in an informal capacity, and we love leading in that way, sharing what we've learned and helping them get things going. But truthfully, as we reflected on this UCAN experience, we kind of saw it as a service that we were helping other schools. And what we walked away was with really some additional growth in just the team coming together as a whole in our school and continuing to push forward and really dig into what things we could do better, what things we could change, what was our 5-year plan, and what are we doing to get there and make adjustments. So I can't say enough positive things about that experience, and we're looking forward to continuing in that mentor role, maybe less formally for now. So building on the success of early college, we began offering the Indiana College Core, which is that core credentials for about the equivalent of a freshman year in college experience, school-wide, just a couple of years ago. And our first non-early college ICC completers will be graduating this spring, and we're very excited about that. Just like with anything, we're starting small, so we have over 20 students that we expect to earn that college credential as they walk out of our doors, and that number grows as you look at our classes, our juniors and our sophomores, and then pretty soon the next cohort will be marketing and sharing with them those opportunities. So this is something exciting. It's something school-wide, and we continue to be part of the conversation as the state has made this a mandate to be offered for all schools, and really kind of working out some nuances in that the Commission for Higher Ed is still figuring out what works best, and we're pushing the envelope on that and really hoping that they will expand to where we can have multiple post-secondary partners awarding that. And you'll see those numbers increase by a lot because at the moment we can only have one post-secondary partner in that capacity. Okay, moving on to our iLearn and SAT results. The graph here shows overall student performance on standardized tests the last 3 school years. And you can also see state averages that are lightly written there in green. So you can see that Penn students are performing a decent amount above the state average, but that says we did fall short of our school goals and truly have a focused effort in implementing changes that will impact these outcomes. So I want to speak to you about some of those changes, as well as some benchmark data we have that is showing growth and things trending in the right direction. So let me explain this one to you. There's a lot of colors here. You're looking at, if we start on the right side here, those are our sophomores. In the middle is our juniors, and on the left is our seniors. And so students in a more formal capacity take PSAT 8-9 as a freshman, and then a sophomore and junior year, they take the PSAT NMSQT, the National Merit Qualifying Test. All of those give us data points and give students rep or practice for the big SAT, school day SAT, their junior year. And you notice we see more growth in certain places than others, but the main thing I want to point out here between both math and our English benchmark, we see increase in every single one of those. So as you look from one test to the next, as students in a particular cohort are growing, are taking that next test, we are getting closer, they are getting closer, more of them, to reaching the benchmark that is required on the SAT itself. So what are we doing to get them there? Some of this should be familiar and some of this will be new. So things that we have used in the past and we continue to find beneficial and implement with students is, as I mentioned, the PSAT and the 8-9 and the PSAT for our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students. As well as then we have been using Indiana Gear Up, which is just a program that teaches SAT prep for our math and our English teachers and provides examples and things that can really help them structure the way things are taught, the way they give their own tests in their classroom, getting students well prepared and more familiar with the things they will see on the SAT itself. New this year, we, again, through the grant that Mrs. Mitchell explained, were able to purchase Horizon Education. We met with a few different vendors, and Horizon was really the one that had benchmark practice tests as a part of their program, as well as targeted practice for students based on those results. And so we went ahead and purchased that for a 2-year contract. Thank you for your approval on that. It has been beneficial so far for students. So we're seeing growth, my arrows there, couldn't decide exactly how to explain it to you, but we're seeing growth between benchmark 1 and 2 pretty significantly. And we're digging in. They just took their second test a couple of weeks ago. So looking at some more detailed data points in order to focus our efforts in the classroom and as in our school as a whole. In addition to that, we have an SAT interventionist on faculty this school year. So the beginning of the school year, that Dr. Carlin was working with PSAT preparation for some of our high ability students, working toward that National Merit Scholar goal. From there, school day interventions are provided to juniors in math and reading based on the data points that I shared from PSAT, as well as from the Horizon benchmark testing. Dr. Carlin also offers some optional asynchronous math and ELA practice via Canvas or via Zoom on Sunday evenings. And we've had great participation in students being interested in those opportunities and growing in that way. Dr. Carlin is spending these next 3 weeks leading up to the SAT, working directly with our math and English teachers in their classes and getting our students ready and confident heading into that test. And the 2 days before the test, we will have SAT prep rallies right here with our juniors and Dr. Carlin, just meeting them to speak confidence into them and to remind them some of those little tips and tricks that will help them to be successful and do their very best on the big day. So now I will pass it over to Assistant Principal Sarah Hendricks to share information from Student Services.
All right, good evening. Let's see. So as Mrs. Price said, one of the next indicators on that GPS dashboard is student attendance. So Dr. Geller talked about the persistent attendance, and what is that? That is that we are trying to get students to reach at least the 94% attendance rate. So our goal this year is to exceed 80%. This was increased from last year, as we saw a gain, as we'll show you here in just a second with those numbers. And this is aligning with our school improvement plan. So we've seen a real positive trend with the attendance, which again, I'll share in just a moment. But first I kind of want to talk about some of the data-driven approaches that we're using. One of the first things is every 2 weeks we're doing a data poll. The deans in my office do a great job of really focusing on directly with the counselors, teachers, collaborating with mentors, and all these things to kind of address those attendance concerns. We also have a scoreboard, which you can kind of see up there, which is located right outside the cafeteria. There's ways that the students can get in, kind of see where everybody is on their information, like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, to see where we are and if they're reaching those persistent attendee goals. We also are continuing with our advisory. We introduced this back kind of last year. It's a 4-week rotation. So the first week during their goal days, during their third block, which is kind of the longer one, we have virtual class meetings. Those are usually led by myself, Dr. Gallagher. Sometimes our counseling department runs those, and we use those for different topics, including just kind of student expectations or maybe some support services for students. The week 2 is the Naviance lessons. So those are focused on the college and career readiness. Our director of our counseling department helps prepare those. Week 3 is our community building activity. Our amazing Kingsman Court helps develop that. I know they're excited for March. We do a March Madness one, which is always a fan favorite. And the week 4 is a grade check. So students are actually getting into their Skyward, which we know a lot of our students are doing, but we're again trying to get them into doing that more often. But really going in that week, they pull their own grades, they fill out a Google form, and then the teachers have those conversations. Do you need to meet with your counselor? Do we need to talk with teachers? Are you missing assignments? Things like that, just to get the kids kind of thinking about that. And then the last week of each month during that third block in their Black Day, they're doing an online form to look at their attendance. So we want them to take ownership of those attendance conversations. So we want them to look in to their Skyward, see what their attendance is doing, tardies, absences, unexcused absences, and then those teachers kind of have a menu of options that they can use. Might be a positive email home, maybe attendance has increased. Or maybe again, it's meeting with their counselor, meeting with their dean. Is there extenuating circumstances? Is there something we can do to help? And this has helped really kind of give us some meaningful conversations, had more people reaching out to us than ever as they're continuing to look at those. We also started kind of doing a reward, which everybody always loves those. At the end of last year, we did popsicles for students that met a 94% threshold or above, or increased by 3% from first semester to second semester. I've never seen high school kids so excited for a popsicle. So we're actually going to be on Thursday giving out another little special treat during lunch for those that, again, have just reached that 94% or above, and it should be a little bit above 2,600 students that have qualified for this reward. So we know that they're going to be excited for that. So we're going to look at some numbers so you can see that positive that we're seeing. We wanted to really look back at the past couple of years and do some comparisons. So first we looked at semester 1 data. So you can see in 22-23 at around 69.39%, 23-24 we were at 76.47, and for the 24-25 school year we're at 78.08. Again, that was for first semester. Now looking at the full school year, you can see the state average for the 22-23 school year was 61.1%. Penn was at 70.48. The state average for the 23-24 school year was 63.4%, and Penn was at 79.23. And our most recent data poll, which was on January 31st, we were at 79.72%. So again, we're definitely still seeing those trends. We know attendance across probably the nation is a focus with students, but we're trending in the right direction, and that's why we increased our goal to 80%, and I am confident that we are going to get there. One other thing I just want to highlight was this contest we started to recognize students that are making a positive impact at Penn High School. And so we're focusing on that take three model. Our RTI group, behavioral group, has really been working hard this year, as you saw with some of that freshman data. And so this was for our staff members. They could nominate students who they are seeing making a difference in those areas. But this goes into an awards where we do they're selected for this during a live drawing, I guess would be the way to say it. But not only are the students entered into the drawing, so are the teachers. So when they are going in and nominating a student, the teacher is also going into the drawing. So we had our first live one last week. Over 60 students were nominated. So 5 students and 5 staff members during our virtual class meeting. We did kind of a live draw, and those 5 students, 5 staff members got to go to the Penn bookstore and pick out an item of their choice. And that was a huge success. And I can tell you about 10 minutes after that contest finished, I already had 10 more entries. So looking forward, we're going to be doing that every month at our virtual class meeting and just highlighting some of those great things that these students are doing as they take care of themselves, each other, and this place. And now I'm going to turn over to Ms. Wheeler.
Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. I get the honor of providing information on student recognition and in school involvement. I'm going to start off with Shrija Bhattacharjee and Rebecca Wagman earned regional Gold Key Awards in the prestigious Scholastic Writing Competition. Sarah Rooney was named a winner with distinction in the Young Arts National Writing Competition. Rooney is a second-year student at Penn's literary magazine Spectrum. Penn Spectrum magazine continues to receive accolades for its impressive display of students' art and literary work under the direction of Kaylee Armstrong. Chris Chen, Stanley Liu, and Noah Schaefer will compete in the National Debate Tournament for a second consecutive year. A total of 10 students have qualified for nationals, which will be held this summer in Des Moines. Penn Science Olympiad shines at the IU Northwest Regional on February 1st. Competing for the very first time, the team delivered outstanding performances across multiple events, finishing 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, coached by Shanti Patti and Stephanie Doncelovic. This middle picture here, we have Angela Yarrell. Penn's Spell Bowl team earned a state runner-up finish at the 2024 Indiana Spell Bowl Championship. Izzy Fielding, architecture and robotics teachers, had students They competed in a design competition to redesign the first floor of the Mishawaka's old police station. Students were awarded cash prizes and the opportunity to compete for a paid summer internship at Cressy Commercial Real Estate. All right, did I do this? Okay. And then this year, debate were the state runner-ups. Mr. Starkweather continues to hold successful speech and debate program, which has seen great success last year as state champs and this year as state runner-up. Man, I'm just all over the place. All right, next we have the National Merit semifinalists. Stanton Barnes, David Garassi. Oh, he's gone, just kidding. Callum Jessup, Hannah Kang, Stanley Liu, and Nish Pershun. Being a National Merit finalist is a significant academic honor that can lead to scholarships and increased college admission opportunities. 15,000 students nationwide are chosen. Next, we have our Lilly Endowment Community Scholars for 2025. We had 2 students who have received this scholarship. Arij Arif and Matthew Deal. Since it first began being awarded in 1998, Penn has had 33 total Lilly Scholars. That's more than any other high school in the county, accounting for 25% of the total number of scholars since the Community Foundation of St. Joe County began administering the Lilly Endowment. All right, and then we have our student involvement. So I shared a survey earlier this semester with all students asking for information about their participation in extracurricular, co-curricular, and club activities. We compared the results from last year's to this year's participation. And as you can see in red, we have much more student involvement this year as compared to last year. And you can see a bigger jump in 10th grade. And I believe we have the showcase event at Penn High School. And I think with all the clubs that are present for that event, I think it really shows why there's such a jump in 10th grade. We love seeing the increased involvement by our students. We currently have 109 active clubs on campus. Thank you to the teachers who sponsor the clubs and extracurricular activities. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we've been up to with the Jewel settlement money. We recently secured the opportunity to have Tall Cop representatives, Jerome Galloway and Melissa Moore, to come and speak to our students, staff, and community in October. Topics will be vaping identification, prevention, signs of vaping, and other educational resources. And with that, a club was formed. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to two students who started the Air We Share and Anti-Vape Club, President Blake Basil and Communications Manager Connor Gagan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Blake Basil. I'm a junior here at Penn. I'm the founder and president of the Air We Share Anti-Vape Club.
And I'm Connor Gagan, also a junior, co-founder and communications manager.
Today, we just wanted to talk about who we are and what we're doing as a club. And yeah.
So we started this club with the idea that we wanted to spread awareness about vaping. And to do that, we made a bunch of posters giving general information, discouraging vaping. We hung a lot of them up around Penn, as well as sent some to Schmucker Middle School to hang up there.
And we were also able to make over 600 of these t-shirts and another version and give them to students for no cost at all. And all of them were gone in under 3 days. So that was a major success.
With those t-shirts and the posters, we want to create a community that acknowledges vaping and the harmfulness of it, as well as enables those who need help to get the help they need.
And in the future, we want to continue to combat vaping around our schools and communities in any way possible. And thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, guys. That was great. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to our athletic director and head girls soccer coach, Jeff Hart.
Always after the smartest kids, always. But okay, I'm gonna be short and sweet tonight. Speaking of increased participation, we had 535 student athletes in the fall compete. Last year we had 483, so it's about 10.7% increase. Our student athlete GPA this year is 3.68. First semester last year was about 3.61. So again, an increase. And as we talk about attendance, grades, every 2 weeks we send out a report to our head coaches for their rosters, and we give out let them know the students that are suffering academically, and then an attendance report. So obviously we all know when a head coach can control playing time, kids tend to show up and they tend to work a little bit harder in school. So it has definitely worked. We have 9 teams that we consider fall sports. 8 of them compete in the IHSAA. Of those 8 programs, 6 of them won their sectionals, which is very impressive. 6 of 8. Girls soccer and volleyball also won regional championships along with boys tennis. Boys tennis then went on to win a semi-state championship. Competed in the state finals with 7 other schools. Our girls cross country team finished 6th in the state at the state finals. Boys cross country 13th. Girls volleyball advanced to the Elite 8, and then girls soccer lost in the Final 4. So an absolutely outstanding fall for our student athletes, and we're in the middle of a really good winter. When you have team success, as coaches always say, it leads to individual recognition, and certainly 5 of the 8 teams that compete in IHSA tournaments for us had MVPs in our conference. Scarlett, girls golf; Annika, girls soccer; Chris Miller, boys soccer; Shannon Rudge in volleyball; and then freshman Shreya Nai in girls cross country. She also played soccer at the same time, which is incredible, and finished 13th individually in the state in cross country as a freshman. So bright future for that young lady. And of course, outstanding coaches, positive leaders in our school. 4 coaches were conference coaches of the year. Brian Matthews, a first-year coach, golf for us, outstanding season. Michael Clements, a longtime head coach here, has made a huge impact. Tom Miller, boys cross country. Tom is retiring at the end of the school year, and so this was outstanding recognition for a longtime coach here. And then Caitlin Hickey, a former star at Penn, was coach of the year in girls volleyball. Annika Gunther, girls soccer, was a regional All-American, making her one of the best players in the Midwest. She also won this award as a junior and one of the 3 players in our program that have won that award. So just a great, great high school career. And she's swimming in 4 events this weekend in the girls' state swimming final. So he's elite athlete. I do want to make special recognition to Kurt Rollo. Recently announced that he would be inducted into the 2025 Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscaster Hall of Fame. Kurt, as many of you know, is a sports journalism teacher here. He's at so many of our events behind the camera. He speaks at banquets, speaks at recognitions, just does an outstanding job in Lucha's outstanding communications department. So we are going to recognize Kurt before our last home basketball game on February 25th. We'll send something out to you guys as well. But Kurt, this is well deserved. So really happy for him. And then finally, it's a winter sport, but girls wrestling, I do want to make special note of this. This is the first year as an IHA sport. We had 49 girls, 5 coaches, led by first-year head coach at the high school, Amy Hildebrandt, now a Penn teacher, former Penn student. 75% of those 49 girls are freshmen or sophomores, and about 20 of them are first-year wrestlers. So a bright future. These 2 young ladies made it to the state tournament. Haley is a junior, and Amani's a sophomore. So bright future still ahead for them and many others. And so we could not be more excited to see how Coach Hildebrandt leads this program forward. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your time tonight. I know it's sometimes goes a little bit longer than we expected, but there's a lot to highlight, a lot to celebrate. And when we combine the two, you know, it's a lot of fun, but it also takes time to do that. So we are done, and we're here to answer questions if anybody has any questions.
Board members, any questions or comments? I'd like to take some time to recognize some people, and then also I've got a couple questions. First, I'd like to recognize our students. Every time we go on site to one of our schools and hear from our students, I just stand in awe of where they are now compared to where I was when I was their age. It's just not a fair comparison. They're so advanced. I stand in awe of our students and all the achievements that they're making. Congratulations to all the students who came tonight and presented. You represent PHM so well. And we as a board are just so proud to just know that your futures are extremely bright. Secondly, I want to recognize our Penn High School administrators. Time, unfortunately, just doesn't permit us to go into detail about how greatly we appreciate all the things that you're doing. But the things that you're doing are not going unnoticed. We really appreciate you. We understand all the successes that your efforts are resulting in and the improvements that you're making. We really appreciate our Penn High School administrators. Third, I want to take a moment and also focus on the building and trades. Just like Mrs. Bell, we've had the opportunity to go through a number of the houses that building and trades have constructed. These are houses anybody would be proud to have. They're incredible houses. The fruits of our students' labor is just breathtaking. It's an incredible asset to our community. I'm so proud of Les Crooks and the program that he's put together. Not only have we seen the houses that the students have constructed, but I would encourage anybody to go to the Building and Trades banquet at the end of the year and just talk to the students and listen to their life stories. One of our students, I think it was Nolan, said the Building and Trades has had a huge impact on my life. If you talk to our Building and Trades students, you're going to hear that from just about every single one of them, and their life stories are very compelling. Talking to them, many of them will say, I didn't know what my academic future held. I didn't even know if I was going to stay in school. But because of Les Crooks and because of Penn Building and Trades, I've got a future. I'm just so proud of Les and everything that Building and Trades has done, and I'm proud of Josiah Parker and the commitment that the Penn High School administration, along with the Building and Trades program, has made to our students, because we do talk about making our kids career ready as well as college ready. So thank you guys so much for that. Fourth, just a question, Mrs. Fry or Mr. Gallagher, that in either one of you could answer, that pertains to our SAT scores. And I acknowledge much appreciation for your efforts to improve our SAT scores. I'm just curious on your thoughts about strategies perhaps for integrating middle school programming as a way of helping to increase our SAT scores once the students get up to high school.
That's a great question. I think, when you think about vertical alignment with curriculum and the standards assessed, especially in math and English, I think math-wise, that the biggest part of the SAT is algebra and algebra 2 focused, right? And making sure that a lot of our kids that are successful in math finish algebra as 7th graders, I think, right? And usually those students do really well. So it's the students that get to Penn as freshmen that take algebra. And so keeping them engaged in the algebra and algebra 2 content is the most important part of that process. With English, I think it probably depends. I mean, when you think about the SAT, it covers, a lot of reading comprehension and some writing as it relates to, like, they're not doing writing anymore, but they have to analyze, what would be the best way to respond in a situation in a written form. I know those standards are covered at the middle school level. It's just keeping kids engaged in that. Conventions, those kinds of things. Grammar is still a big deal, right, on the SAT. So our English teachers do continue to focus on that, especially with the New Horizon assessment that's helping them keep that focus at the high school level, which is something that we weren't doing for a while, and we're trying to get back to that.
As your thoughts develop on that question, let us know if there's something that we can do as a board to help promote programs in the middle schools that ultimately help you guys achieve your goals of improving the SAT scores. Other school board members? Well, again, our deepest thanks to our Penn High School administrators, to our Penn High School teachers, to our Penn High School students, and parents. Thank you guys all so much for coming out and spending your Monday nights with us. It's wonderful to see you all. We appreciate the presentation. Look forward to coming back here again next year and hearing even more about the successes that are occurring under your leadership, Dr. Gallagher. Thank you guys so much.
See you in February. You have a T-shirt. Everybody got a T-shirt designed by our graphic design students. They all put together ideas. We came down to one final idea. Alex Dunphy students did that, and then we had 3D printed Building Bright Futures by our engineering students. So those are gifts for you. So thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation portion of the evening. I know we have some parents here and some students lingering, so we're just going to take a break real quick to give you an opportunity to, if you'd like, to take off and maybe go home and have dinner. We'll pause for just a moment to allow you to do that. we'll go back on the record. The first item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. And before we get to the contents of the adoption of the agenda item, we do have a member of our audience who is asked to speak on this particular topic. Before I call on him, I note that we do have two members of the audience who have asked to speak on other agenda topics as well. So I know all three have spoken to the board before and are very familiar with the rules that govern our public discourse. So with a 3-minute limit on the item of the adoption of the agenda, Mr. Ben Dallas, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Dallas. I live in Mishawaka. Got 4 kids go to the school district. So the item I'd like to add to the agenda has to do with the board attorney. I'd like to see if he could give me some clarification on something, if he's willing to answer my question. And yes, I'm aware that it takes my time. I'm okay with that. It's not very long. So during the last, I think, 2 school board meetings, we've had this topic brought up repeatedly about a document that was secretly released. Publicly available document was secretly released and leaked.
Mr. Dallas, hang on. Let's stop his time.
Okay.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay.
I'm concerned the folks at home aren't going to be able to hear you.
Okay.
Are we good?
Should I not talk so loud?
I don't think it has to do with you. I'm not exactly sure what was causing it.
I think you were fine, Mr. Dallas.
All right.
You can maintain your enthusiasm.
I'll try. Let me know when it's time in.
Yeah, I'm looking at our technology folks. Just as soon as we get the thumbs up, we'll give you the go ahead. Think we're good? Okay. All right. So I don't know where Mr. Dallas is in his time, but we'll let you rewind your thought and then go right back into what you were saying.
Well, I'm good. So my question is this: we had, I guess, during the previous 2 school board meetings, we had something, I guess, kind of called document gate. Where there was this document that was secretly released, a private document that was released to the media. And my question is this: are you familiar with the document I'm talking about? So it was I'll be general. So it was a document from the school board attorney that was sent to a school board member. It was brought up during the previous 2 meetings. You know what I'm talking about?
I do not actually.
Oh, darn it. Okay. Well, I'll give you the parameters of it, and maybe you can give me your opinion. So if a document is already public, okay, and it's written by a school board attorney, and it's sent to a member of the school board, is that a secret or a private conversation, or is it a public document since it's already public?
So I guess I'm going to defer answering sort of legal questions to the public.
Okay.
As the board is my client.
Okay. So you can't really say whether it was a private or public document.
It's not something, A, I don't know the document at all.
Okay.
B, I'm not comfortable. I share my sort of legal advice with the entirety of the board.
Okay, I thought it was worth a try, because for those that don't know, and I saw the document, all it had was a list of names on it, right? So it didn't have like a name, and then the name, then like all the kids' names that belonged to that parent. Didn't have a credit score on it, right? Didn't have an address on it. Unless I checked when they come up here to speak, you got to give a lot more information than just your name. You got to give your address. You got to give some other information just to speak up here. So by no means is that possibly a private document. It was written by a public employee. It was sent to a public official. And it was already accessible online. So it was not a private document. I don't believe it had any secret information on it last I checked. It didn't show the location of where Jimmy Hoff is buried. It didn't have anybody's personal PII on it. All it was a simple public document that was released to the media. And I just want to make that clear that that was not that I mean, common sense, logic will tell you a document like that made. My time is up. Well, until next time. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Dallas. We appreciate it. No other member of the public is asked to speak on the adoption of the agenda, so we'll proceed forward. Board members, any additions or changes to tonight's proposed agenda? Administration?
The administration has no changes.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the Monday, February 10th, 2025 regular board meeting as presented?
I so move. I second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay.
Nay.
Motion carries by a vote of 6-1. Next up is the approval of the minutes. Board members, any additions or changes to the minutes from the January 13, 2025 regular board meeting? Administration?
The administration has no changes.
Motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Next up is the consent agenda. And before we get to the contents of the consent agenda, we do have two members of the public who have asked to speak on this. I'll call on them in the order in which I received their pre-registrations. The first up is Christy Witt.
Hi, my name is Christy Witt. You have my information, and on the 5.03 acceptance of donations, on Friday, there was a donation for $1,500 listed in the board docs from the Cartwright Foundation, and now it's gone. So I'm just wondering why it was added and why it's gone, the Cartwright Foundation. So maybe you can look into that.
Dr. Thacker, would you like to speak to that?
Well, we had some information. We were given a donation of $1,500 from a foundation. There was some confusion about donations, more than one donation. So we're obtaining more information before we bring it back for a request for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Next member of the audience who's asked to speak is Brent Curtis.
My name is Brent Curtis, and I have one child in the PHM schools. Each time I come to these meetings, I keep looking and hoping for something different. Growth, positive impacts, general improvements. What I keep seeing, and is troubling, however, is turmoil. There's constant turmoil. The board continues to battle accusations, disagreements, and an apparent lack of transparency regarding certain points of interest. First, there was a video meme that was blown out of proportion and escalated to a level that was unnecessary. It did irreparable harm to several people. Then there was an issue regarding a specific board member based on unproven allegations that were personal in nature and had no bearing on any work being done. Many people, including some members of this board, were quick to point fingers without knowing if those allegations were fabricated or factual. Now there is a claim of donations that are missing or unaccounted for. I don't know the details, nor do I want to know. As a general rule, I don't care who donates to PHM, and I don't care how the money is applied. And I'm certainly not going to make any assumptions or assertions, but the issue is there nonetheless. This is yet another black eye for this board. There always seems to be something that is questionable or misleading, and each instance causes a little more damage. The families of PHM deserve better. They put their faith in you when they elected you to a board position. You owe it to them to make PHM the gold standard. There is no room for putting personal feelings and agendas ahead of the district. If you do that, you fail to uphold your obligation. Most importantly, the district suffers because these issues become distractions that prohibit you from focusing on the positive work you could be doing. I know there are two sides to every story, and I know you can't always believe what you hear. But when it's constantly one thing after another, you can't help but wonder and ask questions. Unanswered questions raise doubt. Doubt erodes trust. This board needs to figure it out. Make changes. A little self-awareness would go a long way. Admit mistakes, resolve issues, work together. That is the only way everyone benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Dr. Thacker, I'll turn it over to you to introduce the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. The administration recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented. Appearing on the personnel report under certified staff for the following retirements at the end of this school year. Christine Nisley, teacher at Mary Frank Elementary School, who will retire after 42 years of service. She has just done a great job. We're going to miss her. Catherine Schreiner, teacher at Elm Road Elementary, who will retire after 36 years of service. Here's another teacher who would represent the gold standard for teaching. And Louise Black, teacher at Miranda Elementary School, who retired for 28 years of service, another person who did a great job. So on behalf of the board and administration, we wish Christine, Catherine, and Louise the very best in their upcoming retirements.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Board members, any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the February 10th, 2025 consent agenda as presented by Dr. Thacker?
A second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed, vote nay.
I'll abstain.
And I'll show one abstention, 6 votes in favor, and 0 votes opposed. Joining Dr. Thacker, I too would like to thank Christine, Catherine, and Louise on behalf of the board for your lifetimes, really, of service to PHM. We're a better district because of you, and we wish you Godspeed in your very well-deserved retirements. We'll move on to our next item, which is a business operational services action item involving capital improvements. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley, Board of Trustees. Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Aaron Linsky, will present our first business action item this evening, which is a request for approval of capital improvement projects. Dr. Linsky?
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Good evening, President Riley, members of the board. This evening, the administration is requesting approval of the 9 items. I don't see them up on the screen, but you can pull them up in front of you. Each item has links with details about the project, as well as includes the bid or quote tabulations. We're recommending that you award to the lowest, most responsive bid in each situation. I won't review each item individually this evening, but I would like to highlight 2 key points. First, the largest investment this evening is an improvement to Schmucker Middle School and the new PHM Information Technology Center. We're going to be relocating, as we've discussed previously, our technology department over to the new warehouse facility, and it's going to free up 5 classrooms at Schmucker. So it's a huge investment, but certainly is going to work out very well. We also gain a whole short hallway of lockers, which will help out almost 1,000 kids there. Second, items on the capital improvement plan, these were all included in the original 2024 or 2025 capital improvement plan, except for one. The additional request is for a property on Bittersweet Road that's adjacent to that information technology center, as well as the Thacker Field House. The total amount requested this evening is $2,144,009.58. Please note that the closing costs for the property are estimated, so that might slightly vary. All of the projects are completed to be done this summer, except for those classrooms at Schmucker. We've got to move the technology department out and then rehab those areas. So we hope to have that by mid to late September. So happy to answer any questions you may have on those items.
Board members, questions or comments?
I just have one. It's good to see quotes starting to come back. As opposed to 1111.
Yeah,
that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Beneficial for the district.
Good point. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take one motion for the entire slate of capital improvements as presented. Do I have a motion to award the capital improvements projects to the listed vendors as presented by Dr. Linsky?
So moved. A second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote nay.
I'll abstain.
We'll show the vote as 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. And thank you, Dr. Linsky. We'll move on to our next business action item, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and members of the board. Dr. Aaron Linsky will continue with our next business item this evening, which is a request for approval of a professional service agreement. Dr. Linsky?
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. The administration recommends approval of a professional service agreement with the architecture design firm Fannie Howie for $140,000 to support the design and bid procurement for the new PHM Science and Space Exploration Learning Center at Bittersweet Elementary. The state-of-the-art facility will offer a dedicated classroom space as well as lab space for the PHM Arthur M. Klinger Planetarium, expanding STEM opportunities for our students K through 12. Additionally, it's going to feature a separate entryway and restrooms, something we don't have now, which is much needed if you've attended there, ensuring that it has independent access from the elementary school. The anticipated construction cost is around $2 million, and thanks to the efforts of our current director, Mrs. Melinda O'Malley, and our former director, Mr. Art Klinger, a grant has been secured that covers half of those anticipated costs. So schematic design will begin this month, and we intend to award the project in August, with groundbreaking taking place then, and about 13 months of total construction time. Certainly happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, any questions or comments?
Do you have any drawings of how it's going to lay and fit with the school?
We've just started until we approve this officially. I have met unofficially with the architect. We have that layout. It'll sit right next to the existing planetarium. It will connect to the planetarium. And we're looking at having a hallway that just kind of works out perfect behind the planetarium that will connect the school to the new space. And so it's all connected and works out actually very well. It's a perfect situation in how that's laid out.
Okay, as quick as you get it, I'd like to see it.
I can send you a rough design tonight, Mr. Bueller. Unofficial, of course.
Mr. Riley, I'd like to that. I just think that is going to be such a neat addition to that facility and what it's going to do really for all grades, K through 12, with the ability to use that facility. And you think about that and what's going on with the fitness center. And I mean, again, facilities here continue to be improved and enhanced. And, you know, as long as we can keep that tax rate where it is, it's pretty exciting.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Fox and Mr. Beeler. Do I have a motion to approve the professional services agreement as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed, vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Shows 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. We thank you, Dr. Linsky, and we'll move on to our discussion business item. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Mr. Ryan Snoddy, PHM's Neola representative, met with PHM Board Policy Committee on November 13th to review the current update to the board policies. The Board Policy Committee includes Board Attorney Jeff Johnson, Board Policy Liaison Mr. Chris Riley, Mrs. Lucia Ramey, Mrs. Rachel Hugenboom, and me. Following the committee's review, the revisions have been processed in-house to get the policies in the pre-adoption format, which is what is being presented to the board this evening. There's 1 revised bylaw and 3 revised policies that are scheduled for first reading this evening. These bylaws and policies are the first group to undergo revisions from the most recent update and the Edgar Ugg special update. And I'll ask Board Attorney, Mr. John Rogers, to present the 4 bylaws and policies to you. Mr. Rogers?
Thank you. So the revision to the bylaw 0165 regarding board meetings, and this policy has been revised to clarify the limitations on attending meetings by electronic means of communication apply to each category of meetings. So regular meetings, executive sessions, work sessions, 50% each. It's also been revised to provide clarity regarding calling an emergency meeting to the board. And if you look at the policy, really we're updating the Indiana Code sections that this affects. And there is the one sort of limitation for a natural disaster or an emergency there. So that is with regards to the bylaw. With regards to the policy, there are 3 conflicts of interest policy that have been revised. These revisions make it clear that the PHM conflict of interest policy applies to all employees. Further revisions clarify when a conflict of interest exists, identifies exceptions to the policy, and sets forth the requirement that any expected conflict of interest must be reported promptly. And again, these are in relation to updating the Indiana Code sections as it applies to all these conflict of interest policies. And so this is policy 1130 and the conflict of interest 3113, conflict of interest, and 4113, conflict of interest that brings us in compliance with Indiana Code.
Thank you. We appreciate that, Mr. Rogers. Because we have Mr. Fox returning to the school board and Mrs. Bell, who's joining us on the school board, it's worthwhile just to remind the board what the policy committee does with the recommendations that come from Neola. Neola bases their recommendations on whatever happened in the last legislative session. And we typically get a set of recommendations that consists of about 500 pages. And the policy committee narrows that down and excludes any proposed policy change that isn't absolutely required by law. So even though we're not voting on these policy changes tonight, as you digest them, review them and digest them. Just know that the recommended policy changes that we're presenting to the board are those that are required by law and only those that are absolutely required by law. So,
And if I may,
yes.
the changes in the bylaw policy, the Indiana code is in there to reflect why the changes are being made.
So thank you, Dr. Thacker, and thank you most especially, Mr. Rogers, for presenting this information to the board. The board will take action on these 4 bylaws and policies at the March 24, 2025 board meeting. We'll move on to our next item, which is the Business Operational Services hearing on the general obligation bonds. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley. This part of the meeting will have President Riley leading each item for us this evening regarding the lease and general obligation bond, additional appropriation hearings. So President Riley.
Board members, this next item on the agenda is for the board to hold lease and additional appropriation hearings in connection with the proposed construction projects. These hearings are the final steps of the projects, which were first approved by this board by a preliminary determination resolution on February 26, 2024. If you are interested in speaking at the hearings, please make sure that you have, this is for the public. If you are interested in speaking at these hearings, please make sure that you have signed in on the sign-in sheet, which should include your name and address. And after the presentation, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the lease rental to be paid under the lease and the appropriateness of the bond proceeds. At these hearings, we'll ask that each person who wants to speak to the board limit their comments to 3 minutes and that the topic be limited to lease rental and appropriations of funds under consideration. Back to the board. Pursuant to Indiana Code 20-47-3, before a school corporation may enter into a lease agreement with a nonprofit building corporation, the school corporation must conduct a hearing regarding the execution of the proposed lease and whether the rental to be paid to the lessor building corporation under the proposed lease is a fair and reasonable rental for the proposed improvements. Similarly, before a school corporation can appropriate any dollars it directly receives as bond proceeds, it must conduct a hearing on those proceeds for the additional appropriation of those funds. The notices for these hearings were published as legally required. The 3 items for which we are conducting a hearing at this meeting consist of 1, the additional appropriation for hearing for general obligation bonds of 2025, 2, additional appropriation hearing for 2025 first mortgage bonds, and 3, lease hearing for the 2025 first mortgage bonds. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Aaron Linsky for a discussion about the needs for these projects.
Thank you, President Riley. We're going to pull up a presentation, and we apologize, that didn't get linked to you for your individual screens. You're going to have to look at that huge television over there. All of this is really repetitive information that we've shared multiple times in the public before, but we want to make sure that everyone has access and that we do maintain that transparency. So the second slide will show the number of presentations, and if you could just read line number 2 for me. No, I'm just joking. This is going to be an eye check. As you see, we've done 14 different presentations on the 24 and 25 projects. Again, this isn't new, but all those are linked. If we do have any parents or community members that would like to click on those, that will be available to you online following this evening. The next slide really talks about the what our goal is, and we're trying to create those optimal learning environments and really opportunities to meet the needs of our students K through 12. And as well as making improvements so our community can enjoy the facilities that they certainly invest in. And we want to make sure that we're supporting learning outside of the classroom. And so we've got a lot of space. Next slide. So how do we do that? Well, we assess our facilities. We've done 2 different assessments. We had Fanning and Howie do an assessment in 2016. We had Schmidt Associates doing in 2016. We had Fanning and Howie do the last one in 2023. We have lots of different reports that come to us from OSHA and from our insurance carrier. And so we have maintenance reports. We meet with our principals who meet with their PTOs and their school communities. We take that all into to account when we're putting together these plans. Next slide, please. This just reiterates, we've got 1.9 million square foot of total space in the district. We've got 500 plus acres, and the average building is 50 years old. So it's starting to need a little bit of work. Next slide, please. And we determine our priorities, really keeping safety and security as our number one priority. It's fed into everything we do, but we take a look at our learning environment needs, our replacement cycles of equipment, so that we maintain the ability to keep schools open, and the goal of maintaining the overall appearance and functionality of each facility. So there's the next couple slides will just show you how we break down the different types, and it's just an ability for people to interpret all of this data. You can certainly interpret it many ways. We've shown these before, but you can go ahead and click through these. There's two different ways that you can look at these, and it basically shows that we spend a lot of our time working on items that we've identified in those facility assessments, and we spend a lot of time working on items that service all of the people. We're in the people business. And then this is a comparison of those two, so it kind of gives you that 10,000-foot view on how those dollars are being spent. And then this looks at our improvements by location. Obviously, we have a third of our students at Penn High School in a very large building that is aging, and so we spend a considerable amount of dollars here maintaining that. And then we have a lot more elementary buildings, and then obviously 3 middle schools. So this is just an example, but you can get online and you can see what we're doing, or our plans are to perform all these improvements at each building in this cycle. And so buildings that we do a lot of renovations at this year, obviously we'll have less in following years as we try to spread the wealth and take care of those buildings. These are just these are the largest projects that we're doing. And in fact, some of them will be coming to you in the next 2 months. We have a band room addition here at the high school that's going to improve our fine art space. We've got getting rid of our last exterior staircase in northern Indiana in the winter, especially after this past weekend's ice storm. No one thinks that's a great idea. We'll take care of that, as well as add 2 classrooms. And then we've got renovation of the interior space on the eastern wing of Mary Frank. So 3 big projects that will be coming about. So this is all linked online. It's been online since 2023, November of 23. I haven't had any questions on it, but certainly always happy to answer any. Go ahead and click that forward. And just to reiterate, I think board member Fox said we want to make sure that we're maintaining that stable tax rate. We're actually looking at ways that we can reduce it. We listen to the public. We're certainly listening to our politicians in the state. We recognize that that's a topic that we're all interested in as taxpayers within the district. We want to make sure that people understand this does not impact us hiring teachers or paying teachers. It's a completely different fund. We want to make sure that we're constantly improving our learning environments and our working environments for staff, because that's how we attract and retain. So I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have on this project.
I'd like to point out the slide a few back. It's been a great tool for me, Aaron, but in parents, how we break down individual schools and those projects. As we're out and about at schools and events, I get asked a lot of questions like, when is Schmucker going to do this, or when is Moran going to do that? That's a great resource. So thanks for updating that and keeping that relevant.
Yeah, and we'll be bringing you another set of slides for the next 2 years, also within the next 3 meetings, as well as professional services as we plan for those, so that we can make sure we get a lot of bidders and it's done right.
Questions or comments? I'll now open the public hearing. And Mrs. Hugenboom, I will ask you if you've received any pre-registrations. Mrs. Hugenboom has indicated that she has not received any pre-registrations from the public to speak. I have not either. So we will conclude that no member of the public is asked to speak on the hearing. And
We signed the sheet and we didn't sign the right one.
oh, I'm sorry. Can you bring me up your sheet?
No, we signed it, we put our names on the sheet out by the front door. We didn't sign the green sheet, we signed the white sheet.
I understand now.
We signed the wrong document.
No problem. Come on up. You get 3 minutes.
Thanks so much for having us. My name is Liz Worthington. I'm here to share my concern on important safety protocols that are being ignored at our schools. On Monday, January 13th, my daughter came home from school and told me she had been involved in a bus crash. You can imagine my surprise and shock when this was the first time I had heard about this. I learned that an email was sent out that morning about the accident, but it came from an anonymous sender, info@easyrouting.com. The subject of the email was notification from school transportation department. There was no urgency to the email or mention about an accident in the header. When we have snow days, we get an email, a text, a phone call, and updates via Parent Square, plus notifications from our own school. Why should a bus accident get any less? After 3 weeks, 3 phone calls, and a FOIA request later, my husband and I got to talk to Mr. Tugman. As I understand it, 2 buses were involved when a student released a brake that caused one bus to crash into the bus in front of it. The email notification said no injuries were reported. Why was that student anywhere near the controls, especially when other students were on the bus? Mr. Tugman sent us the protocols required to follow in the event of a bus accident, no matter how minor. Nearly all of them were either ignored, forgotten, or simply not followed by school and district leadership. Among the protocol failures, law enforcement wasn't called and no call was made to 911 for medical assistance. Students were not kept on the bus for first responders. First responders were not on scene and did not medically evaluate students, nor did any health aides or school nurses. Parents were not informed via Parent Square, which is mandatory according to the protocols. Staff at every level, including transportation leadership, failed to follow key procedures, which raises doubts about preparedness for more severe incidents. PHM must send notice out to every family in the district about this incident and their failures. This communication should also lay out all procedures that should be followed in any incident or accident. We are shocked that these procedures are written down and upper leadership failed to follow them. Information about accidents or even protocols that should be followed are not accessible on your website. I submitted a FOIA request asking for a list of accidents over the past 5 years and the communication sent to parents as a result. The response I received said PHM as a public agency is not required to respond to a request for information of this kind. I disagree. On the campaign trail, many of you advocated for school safety and even went so far as saying it was a top priority. Now's your opportunity to show us what you mean. If the district does not take accountability for this by being public with its failings, people simply won't know this happened. If you don't communicate this failing to parents and the path forward to prevent it from happening again, you are choosing to brush this under the rug and put lives of children at risk as a result.
I'd also like to claim my individual 3 minutes as this other person. So I do have a copy of the protocols here. Oh, Dan Worthington, apologies. So we did talk to Mr. Tugman on the phone, and he said they own this and the bus driver was fired. When he started to tell us about the procedures, I started to better understand about what was not followed. And I almost laughed to myself because the incident was not comical, but the fact that there were this list of procedures that smart people put together and in the moment did not follow brings large distrust to how many times was it not followed in the past. And I question Mr. Tugman on the phone, his own judgment as a head of the transportation, because how could he be on site and have essentially a checklist and allow these things not to happen? And I think Mr. Tugman reports to you, Dr. Linsky. This is a supreme lack of judgment. And now I say his response to this was hindsight's 2020. I said to him, well, that is true, but it is not here because you literally have this sheet that he sent us that tells you everything to do in a situation like this. So the fact that you have this and didn't follow it, it's not a good thing. This is also the incident report filled out. It said injuries, there's none. So that's basically with the kids telling an administration official or a bus driver that they're not injured at the time of the incident. Now they're grade schoolers, maybe they're shy, if they're hurt, hopefully they're telling somebody. But no, and they said right here too, was anyone transferred to the medical, for medical assistance? It says no, again, against protocols. So I really do not understand how you have a list of protocols and simply choose not to follow them. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Worthington, first of all, thank you for your time. We appreciate both of you coming to address the board. When you registered outside, did you put your contact information? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I wasn't expecting you to come up and speak, so I didn't read all the rules and whatever. We don't typically refer to individual PHM employees by name, but here's all I'd like for you to know from you right now is, have you been contacted by anybody by the administration? Okay, that's it? Oh.
I've done follow-ups with people at Moran Elementary.
Okay.
And there were a lot of cross wires on them not understanding the information on each side. So even that information didn't line up on the knowledge.
I get it. Okay. So here's what we'll do. Your contact information's on your registration. We'll ask for somebody from the administration reach out to you and help us to get to the bottom of it. Okay? So thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out tonight and speaking to us. Okay, I don't see that anybody else has registered and nobody else is coming forward. So we do thank those who have participated, and we'll now move on to consideration of the bond-related resolutions. Dr. Thomas Keeley, will you please summarize the additional appropriation resolution for the general obligation bonds?
The additional appropriation resolution provides the approval of the school corporation to appropriate the funds for the proposed project in the same year in which the general obligation bonds will be issued.
Resolution for the general obligation bonds.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Will show that it is approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. The final bond resolution for the general obligation bonds.
The final bond resolution contains the project cost, the maximum interest rate, and other financial terms such as the first interest payment date and maturity dates of the bonds, all with respect to the issuance of general obligation bonds.
Thank you, Dr. Keeley. Board members, motion to adopt the final bond resolution for the general obligation bonds.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Dr. Keeley, please summarize the resolution authorizing execution of lease.
As required by Indiana Code 20-47-3, after a lease hearing, the school board must approve the lease agreement and authorize the school board officers to execute such lease. This lease is the agreement whereby the school corporation will levy the required property tax to pay the lease payments throughout the life of the bond issue. The lease payments will be paid to the building corporation and used to pay the bondholders to repay the proposed bonds.
Thank you, Dr. Keeley. Board members, do I have a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing execution of lease?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Carries by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Dr. Keeley, please summarize the additional appropriation resolution for the first mortgage bonds.
The additional appropriation resolution for the first mortgage bonds outlines the appropriation of funds received from the sale of certain school facilities to the building corporation, where portions of the proposed projects will be constructed. The resolution also specifies that any such funds will be placed in a school corporation construction account separate from all other school corporation funds and spent only on the project, since the appropriation will be from those bond proceeds.
Thank you, Dr. Keeley. Board members, I have a motion to adopt the additional appropriation resolution.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Carries by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Dr. Keeley, could you please summarize the resolution assigning bids and contracts?
The next resolution is the resolution assigning bids and contracts to the building corporation. At the bond closing, the building corporation will own facilities where some of the renovation work will be completed. The building corporation will also be the issuer of those bonds. As a result, certain contracts may need to be with the building corporation because the building corporation will hold the money to pay the contractors. The school corporation receives the bids and/or contracts and awards those bids and contracts under state law, but then retains the right to assign those bids or contracts to the building corporation for payment at the discretion of the board.
Thank you again, Dr. Keeley. Board members, motion to adopt the resolution assigning bids and contracts?
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Passes by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Dr. Keeley, could you please summarize the resolution authorizing the supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking and the issuance of bonds?
The final resolution satisfies the Securities and Exchange Commission requirement that a school corporation enter into a continuing disclosure undertaking agreement if it issues bonds to public investors. The agreement requires that the school corporation agree to timely provide certain financial information and provide notice of certain material events if and when they occur.
Thank you, Dr. Keeley. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the 2025 supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking and issuance of bonds?
I so move.
I think we've got a motion by Mr. Fox and a
I
second by Mr. McCullough. All those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay.
I'll abstain.
Passes by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Thank you, Dr. Linsky. Thank you also, Dr. Keeley, for coming and providing the explanations. We appreciate your work on 2024 and 2025 capital improvement projects for the district. We'll now move on to the hearing of visitors. At regular meetings, the public is invited to address the board on general topics under the hearing of visitors without registering. A time limit of 3 minutes shall be enforced for persons wishing to speak during the hearing of visitors. Board attorney will keep time. We'll let you know as your time is expiring. These rules are intended to govern the hearing of visitors and all comment, including board remarks at the end of the meeting. It is requested that if you're a member of the public that you state your name and address at the beginning of your comments, and individuals may speak only once during this section of the agenda. Please understand that personnel issues absolutely cannot be addressed during open sessions of the board. To be clear about that, PHM school board members, employees, administrators, teachers, and certainly students should not be addressed by name. Topics and issues can be discussed, people cannot. Please use orderly and appropriate language and volume when addressing the board. Also, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board. Please refrain from directing your remarks to other members of the public who are in attendance tonight. I do respectfully ask anyone wishing to address the board abide by this policy. Board attorney is here to ensure that the privacy rights of employees and all of our students and teachers, administrators, and board members balance with the public's right of free expression. Repeated violations of these instructions could result in the forfeiture of your remaining time allotment. The board does not respond to questions or comments posed during the hearing of visitors. With those rules in mind, who would like to speak?
Ashley Leader, you have my information. This is a good thing. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I cannot leave here tonight knowing that our girls swim team is heading into the state this weekend. So as a swim mom, they were amazing this past weekend, but for the 6th year in a row, they are sectional champions. And we've had 2 of our swimmers, a male and a female, be featured as a nominated athlete of the week in the South Bend Tribune. One of our female swimmers this past weekend set the school, pool, and sectional record for 100 back, and another for the 100 fly. And one of our other swimmers was also featured in the South Bend Tribune. So as a swim mom, I just wanted to leave us at that. I don't want to steal any of winter thunder for the sports, but it's super accomplishment. I think our swimmers are the best athletes. Rain, snow, ice, they're up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they're swimming. And so I just wanted to mention that before we leave.
Thank you, Mrs. Leader. Anybody else? Okay, seeing, hearing none, we'll now move on to board reports and requests. Board members being governed under Robert's Rules of Decorum and with a 10-minute limit, who would like to address the board?
I would.
Mr. Chaffee, you're recognized.
I have a prepared statement which I'm going to read. It pertains to issues that this school board has chosen to involve itself in over this past year. The disciplinary complaint filed by the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission against Michael Misch outlines only a fraction of the collusion and unethical behavior committed by Misch and others. As detailed in the complaint, Mish and Chickowitz had a very intimate, personal, and professional relationship. Mish advised Chickowitz on countless matters. Judge Chickowitz signed the retaliatory order in the custody case of my son Lucas, causing him, my family, and me irreparable damage. I am sure I speak for countless other individuals.
Mr. Chaffee, I think the board attorney is raising a point of order.
If I may, just as a point of order, if this, the point of sort of, as we all know, for the board members speaking at this time is related to sort of things related to our school. If this is something else, could you do this afterwards?
No, I'm going to finish my thoughts because it relates to what this board did in a special meeting on May 14th, 2024, where they called on my resignation. So I'm going to continue with my statement. I'm going to restart that paragraph. Mish advised Chickowitz on countless matters. Judge Chickowitz signed the retaliatory order in the custody case of my son Lucas, causing him, my family, and me irreparable damage. I am sure I speak for countless other individuals who refused to fall in line with a Mish or Chickowitz directive. Connect the dots and do the math, because this is only a fraction of what's to come. Again, thank you to those who have supported me through what has proven to be the most difficult and challenging time in my life. God will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffee. Other board members? Okay, we'll move on to announcements. The next regular meeting of the Penn-Harris-Madison Board of School Trustees will convene on Monday, March the 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Elm Road Elementary School. There being no further business before the board, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. We're adjourned at 7:59 p.m.
Staff,